Why are you never going to be wealthy? Not because the world is unfair, not because you're lazy, and not because you're not smart enough. No, you will never be wealthy since there's no such thing as wealth. You know, most individuals don't mean money when they say they want to be wealthy. They stand for happiness, freedom, and security. They want to reach a moment in life where everything is truly finished. Here's the trick, though. You can't get that with money. You won't feel wealthy no matter how much you accumulate, since money isn't what you're after. Money is nothing more than paper promises, numbers, and symbols. Yes, you can handle a banknote, but what does it signify by itself? It is unable to provide you with food, clothing, and affection. It always points in a different direction. However, we mistake the symbol for reality. Like water in a jug, we assume that the amount in the bank account represents happiness. What happens, though, when you eventually receive that number? You want a larger jug and another number right away. More, more, more. Thus, the hunt never stops. Wealth feels meaningless because of this. Consider this. You will never be content with much if you can't be content with a little. A man will not suddenly enjoy a feast if he cannot enjoy a loaf of bread. Before long, the feast will become routine and dull, because the issue lies in the thinking rather than the food. The same is true with money. No amount of luxury can heal you if you are unable to appreciate simplicity. I'll feel safe if you keep upping the ante, shifting the objectives, and persuading yourself a bit more. However, that little extra never shows up. In actuality, you will never be wealthy because of this. Because how you see things is more important than what you own when it comes to wealth. A stick toy can make a child feel wealthy. With just a bowl and a robe, a monk can feel wealthy. However, a millionaire may feel impoverished in his house, restless, nervous, and constantly watching over his shoulder. Your tendencies are multiplied by money. The scared grow more fearful, the generous more giving, and the restless more restless. Having money doesn't make you wealthy. It enhances your current identity. Let's consider the term rich. What is the true meaning of it? For most people, it means having more than enough, being worry-free, and finally getting some sleep. However, take note that this definition is ambiguous. For a man of modest means abruptly shifts the target when he achieves his objective. There is never enough. At one point, he hoped to make thousands of dollars. When he has it, he dreams of millions. And the man with millions dreams of billions. So the condition of rich is always in the future, just out of reach, perpetually dangling like a carrot before the donkey. Despite this, the donkey never pauses to acknowledge the irony that the carrot was always fastened to his own neck. Similar to this, we pursue money because we believe it would bring us happiness, only to discover that happiness only grows as we do. Therefore, if you define wealth as the ultimate fulfillment of desire, you will never be wealthy. Because money still cannot buy. There is no end to want. It spreads like wild rabbits. It gets more hungry the more you feed it. Therefore, the poorest person is frequently the affluent man. In the middle of plenty, starving. I want to be clear. Being poor isn't romantic. Hunger is not a sacred thing. One cannot preach enlightenment to a man who is famished. But this is what I'm saying. Wealth does not bring satisfaction beyond the necessities of life, such as food, water, shelter, and a certain amount of security. It merely makes things more complicated. It increases the number of locks, anxieties, and comparisons. The man who just has one bowl can eat. The man with 10,000 bowls appears most significant since he is concerned about which is the safest to choose. And the simple act of eating is lost in this concern. Therefore, having more money than is necessary frequently has the opposite effect. Peace is diminished. It takes away from simplicity. It takes away the joy's immediateness. 2 meals cannot be consumed simultaneously. Sleeping in 2 beds is not possible. 10 coats cannot be worn simultaneously. Despite the abundance of possibilities available to him, the wealthy man nevertheless feels empty. Why? Because presence, not stuff, is the true measure of wealth. Furthermore, one cannot buy presence. You can't keep in a vault. Either it's here now or it's not. The real poverty of wealth is this. Why, therefore, will you never be wealthy? Because you will never get there if becoming wealthy equates to achieving your goals. Having money is not a destination. It's a mirage. As you get closer, it gets farther away. And people who dedicate their entire life to pursuing it frequently come to the realization that they have missed the point. Despite the fact that money was supposed to support life, they spent decades exchanging life for it. Thus, despite being surrounded by gold, they lack happiness. The ladder was leaning against the incorrect wall when they climbed it. In actuality, the only way to be wealthy right now is to recognize the abundance of what currently exists. Laughing at the ridiculousness of it all, appreciating your friends, listening to the birds, and savoring your food. It is impossible to purchase that wealth. The bank does not have it. It is conscious. And after you realize that money no longer serves as the ultimate source of happiness, but rather as a tool, a servant, and something that is helpful and, yes, somewhat necessary. Because you're already wealthy. If only you'd see. People think that the universe will provide for them if they think favorably, picture wealth, and affirm affluence. This is referred to as manifestation. Though not in the way most people think, there's some truth to it. Manifestation isn't about manipulating the cosmos to suit your ego. You see, getting in line with the river that is already flowing is the goal. You tire yourself if you row against the river. Things come easily if you go with the flow. Additionally, money goes to people who embrace life rather than those who fight it. Here's the risk, though. A lot of people view manifestation as just another kind of greed. They claim, I will visualize a mansion, a yacht, a fortune. They find the same emptiness even if they are successful, because symbols, not reality, were being manifested by them. Once more, they were after the carrot. Forcing things into existence is not true manifestation. It is paying attention. It is the capacity to perceive what life itself wishes to communicate to you. That could occasionally result in financial gain. Indeed, it can occasionally deliver something much more valuable, like love, creativity, or liberation. There once lived by the sea a fisherman. Every day, he caught enough fish to provide for his family. After that, he sang songs, played with his kids, and sat in the sun. He was contacted by a businessman who suggested that he put in more effort, catch more fish, purchase more boats, and establish a business. The fisherman said, "Then you'll be rich." And then what? Then you can sit in the sun, play with your kids, sing songs, and retire, the merchant remarked. With a giggle, the fisherman remarked, "But I already do that." The delusion is now exposed in this story. We put off living in the hope that we will eventually have enough money to be free. However, freedom denied is freedom postponed. The wealthy man is frequently still constrained by his own thoughts, constantly planning, constantly working, constantly fretting. Despite his poverty, the fisherman had already experienced the essence of prosperity, the capacity to live completely in the present. Because of this, if you think that wealth exists somewhere else, you will never be wealthy. Later, because later never comes. Living today is the only way to be wealthy. I'm not saying this to be critical of ambition. There is a place for ambition. Creation is fueled by it. It creates cities. It fosters creativity. Ambition without awareness, however, is insane. It turns into a never-ending struggle without joy or rest. When properly interpreted, manifestation is the art of expressing life rather than the art of amassing wealth. To produce because you are naturally creative, not because you are in need of symbols. And let it happen if money comes. Let it go if it does. Because wealth is found in the flow of life that delightfully and continuously passes through you, not in the cash. The problem with our contemporary fixation with money is that we approach it as if it were the foundation of existence. However, money isn't the food. The utensil is it. The fork cannot be eaten. But how many of us polish forks all our lives? After polishing, gathering, and comparing, we starve to death. In actuality, life is already plenty before money is involved. Light, breath, and laughter are all free, but most people ignore these blessings, thinking they're worthless only because no one has put a value on them. How can I become rich enough to never want again? a monarch once asked a wise man, "You must learn the wealth of wanting less." The wise man retorted. The king, however, sneered. He equated money with growth, construction, and conquest. He thus accumulated kingdoms throughout his life, but he died dissatisfied and constantly yearning for more. With his bowl and lone robe, the wise man grinned because he had perfected the ability of appreciating what is without yearning for what is not, a skill the king had never grasped. The only kind of riches that is unalienable is that. How about you? I don't want to be endlessly wealthy. You may convince yourself. All I want is enough. But watch out. Like a shadow that lengthens as the sun sets, enough always gets bigger. You will always feel behind if achieving it is the only way to be happy. Realizing that you're already surrounded by plenty is the definition of true richness. It means that your enjoyment is not delayed until your bank account balance increases, but it does not imply that you cannot earn, create, or develop. It implies that you can live in the present while creating the future. When properly understood, manifestation is not about conjuring money out of thin air. Clarity is key. You become aware of the possibilities, people, and routes that are in harmony with your essence when you stop chasing symbols. Although it is a consequence rather than the prize, money may flow as a result. Whether you're holding a dollar or a diamond, the true prize is living in such harmony that life itself feels abundant. Because you get back what you give off. However, no fortune will fill your void if you exude it. And for that reason, a lot of people who manifest money end up feeling let down. Even after getting the promotion, the house, and the automobile, they quickly become restless once more. Because they did not manifest the core content, simply the outside shell. Chasing happiness's shadows will not bring it to you. In awareness, happiness can be found. You may generate wealth from that insight, but wealth does not generate awareness. Most people miss this inversion. They believe that having money provides happiness, but in reality, happiness gives money, or at least the capacity to manage money effectively. Wealth is used peacefully by the man who is at peace. Wealth is used restlessly by the restless guy. Therefore, how much can I make is never a question. However, what is my current state of being? Because no treasure can save you if you are poor. But even a modest penny can turn amazing if you are alive, aware, and curious. A loaf of bread can be purchased and tasted like a feast. That is affluence. Not the bread's cost, but the knowledge of its taste. Consider the wealthiest people you know, not in terms of money, but in terms of their souls. Despite their lack of possessions, they exude vitality. They had no trouble laughing. They donate liberally. They have no fear. Then consider the wealthiest people in the world who are constantly uptight, cautious, and suspicious. Which would you prefer? It's true that spiritual prosperity is more radiant than material wealth. This is to put money in its proper place, not to mock it. Awaken yourself first. Let money play its part after that. However, you might lose your soul and gain the world if you flip the order. Why? Therefore, will you never be wealthy? Because the complete, absolute, and perfect richness you envision is a mirage. That is not how life is constructed. Life is flux, flow, and change. It disappears as soon as you pin it down. Dancing, not grabbing, is the path to richness. It is a song's richness that fades as you listen to it. The depth of uncontrollable laughter. The depth of love that grows when it is shared rather than owned. And you will realize that you have always been wealthy if you can comprehend this. Meaning, not money is the greatest manifestation. To live a life that makes it feel good to create, love, serve, and develop every single day. If funding is available, embrace it. If not, don't be sad, because money is just one tool among many. The symphony of life itself is the true treasure. It is impossible to purchase, sell, or take away the limitless diversity of experience and the wonder of consciousness. Whether your pocket is full or empty, it is yours. As you can see, you will never be wealthy in the sense that you believe, since such wealth does not exist. However, you can be rich in the ways that count. Rich in wonder, love, and awareness. Rich in the ability to laugh with a friend, enjoy the early light, confront life without clinging to it, and let money serve if it comes. Let go if it does. Because true riches lies in knowing rather than numbers. And you're free when you see this. The freedom to be, to love, and to live.